The following video is not meant to replace the operator's manual as a source of technical or operational information. It is always the operator's responsibility to read and comprehend the operator's manual furnished with the machine. Welcome to Komatsu's D375A-6 pre-shift inspection and walk-around. When doing a pre-shift inspection walk-around, you want to approach the machine from the left front side. When approaching, you want to make sure that there's no operator in the machine, or if there's an operator, you want to make contact with that operator to let them know that you're going to be approaching the machine. When doing a pre-shift inspection and walk-around, you want to start on the left front corner. We're going to start with the blade of this machine, and we want to look at the corner bits, the cutting edge, the blade body itself. We want to look at the front end, make sure there's no damage to the front end. Look at the lights, make sure there's no damage to the lights. From here, we're going to move to the left front of the machine and start our inspection from behind the blade and work our way to the back end of the machine. Now we're on the back side of the blade on the left front corner. Here we want to look at our pin locations, make sure there's no oil leaks or excessive wear. We want to look at our cylinders on the blade. We want to look at our link system. We're looking for excessive wear and oil leaks on those parts and any loose, missing nuts or bolts. Moving back, we want to look at our push arm. We want to make sure that we have no damage on our stair or the step that's mounted on the top of the push arm. We want to look at our idler. Idler is very important on this machine. We want to look for any excessive wear on the idler. We're looking for excessive wear on the shoe, the pad, and the grouser itself. Underneath the link system, the new Komatsu oil-sealed bushing, we want to look for any oil leaks. Make sure that there's no excessive wear on the link system. We want to look at our top rollers. Make sure there's no excessive wear. Make sure there's no oil leaks on our top rollers. On the bottom, we want to look at our K-bogey system, and we want to look at our bottom rollers, looking for any oil leaks, looking for any loose or missing bolts, any damage to the undercarriage of this machine. Moving back, we want to look at our final drive, and we want to look at the sprocket, make sure that the teeth aren't missing, aren't damaged on the machine, and we want to look at our pivot shaft, make sure that there's no oil leaking out of the housing on the pivot shaft. And we're looking for, on this machine, on the track frame, we're looking for any kind of damage, any excessive wear on the machine. From here, we're going to move to the back of the machine and look at the ripper and discuss the ripper and its attachments. Now we're at the left rear of the machine at the ripper equipment, and here we want to look at the back end of the machine, the fuel tank. You can look up and look at the back of your cab, make sure your window's intact. You want to look at your ripper cylinders, you want to look at the pins, make sure there's no oil leaks or excessive wear. We want to look at the hydraulic lines in the back of the machine. Here as well, you can also, there's a sediment drain valve on the back of the machine to drain the sediment out of the fuel tank. Moving back, we're looking at the cylinders for any excessive wear, any oil leaks, any loose or missing parts. Look for any damage to the cylinder. Here we're looking at the ripper shank. We want to look at the tooth and the guard to make sure that they're intact, they're not damaged, that the pins are not missing on either one of those two pieces on the ripper shank. From here, we're going to go to the right side of the ripper equipment and discuss the right side. Now we're on the right side of the ripper equipment, and on the right side we want to check the right side cylinders for any damage, leaks, any excessive wear. Here we also want to check our work lights on the back. There is one that's located for your ripper that's in the back middle of your ripper for ripper work at nighttime. And also we want to look, this, just so you know, on a walk-around pre-shift inspection, your VHMS download port utilized by the technicians to download information on the machine. From here, we also want to look at the right rear side of your fuel tank for any damage to the machine. From here, we're going to move to the right side of the machine. Starting from the right rear of the machine, moving forward, we're going to look at our final drive. We're going to look at the teeth on our sprockets. We want to look at our pivot shaft. We also, on the right side, just as we did on the left side, we're looking at our track shoes, the grousers, our links, our pins and bushings for any oil leaks, excessive wear, our push arm for any damage, any oil leaks, any excessive wear. Also, you'll notice on the right rear side is our hydraulic tank and our hydraulic tank sight glass. We want to make sure that's when we check our hydraulic oil level. When we check our hydraulic oil level, we want to ensure that the machine is shut off. We want to ensure that our ripper is on the ground at a 90-degree angle, and we wanted to also ensure that our front working equipment is on the ground and tilted all the way back or rolled back. Moving forward on the right track frame, look at our upper rollers. We're looking at our lower rollers and our K-bogey system. Look for any wear, excessive wear, any damage. Push arm, we're going to look at our stairs for any damage. The step that leads up to the tracks to get onto the machine, any damage. And we want to look at our idler to make sure there's no excessive wear on the idler. And from here, we can look at the front of the machine. We can look at the engine compartment doors, make sure there's no damage to those. The safety arms, safety rails, we want to move to the front of the machine, and we'll look at the back side of the blade. We're going to look at the cylinders. We're going to look at our linkages, our pins on the right side of the back side of the right blade, and then we're going to move to the front of the machine, and we're going to do just as we did on the left front corner. Look at our corner bits, look at our bits on the front of the blade, and check for any cracks, any excessive wear on the blade. Now we're going to climb up on the right side, mid-level checks of the dozer. Notice that I'm using 3 points of contact, checking my handrails while I'm climbing up. I want to check my step that's up here to be able to check the top of the machine. From here, we're going to open our engine compartment. And when we check in our engine compartment, we're looking for any obvious signs of damage, any missing or loose parts. So you want to ensure that you open both sides of the engine compartment and look into both sides. We can look at our front light, work light. We can look at our hydraulic lines that are here on the top right side. From here, I'm going to go up onto the deck, and we're going to be looking at the dampener oil and the powertrain oil. Now, located on the very back of the engine compartment towards the cab is our dampener oil. So this is where we want to open this compartment door. This is our dipstick. This dipstick can be pulled with the machine not running. We want to make sure that we do a proper check, make sure the oil level's between the high and the low marks. We wipe the oil clean, and then we reinsert it back into the dipstick tube. We also, here is where we're going to check our powertrain oil. Located in this box, we have our powertrain oil dipstick and our powertrain oil fill. The powertrain oil needs to be checked with the engine idling. Now we're going to mount the machine on the left front side. We're going to go to the mid-level and do our mid-level checks. When we mount, we want to be sure to use 3 points of contact. Check our handrails while we're up here. Here on the mid-level of the machine, standing on the tracks, inside this lower door is our engine oil dipstick. We want to make sure that we pull our engine oil dipstick, wipe the oil off, reinsert it, pull it back out to do a proper check. On one side of the dipstick, it states engine stopped. You have a high and a low check. And then on the back side, the opposite side, engine idling, a high and a low check. Wipe it clean before reinserting it into the dipstick shaft. Also, our engine oil fill point is located in this area. Here, you want to check the bottoms of your fuel filters. You have glass bowls to check and see if there's any sediment in the fuel filters themselves. From here, we're going to go, we'll close this compartment. We're going to open our engine compartment. Inside our engine compartment, we have our air filters, we have fuel filters, we have oil filters. We want to look for any obvious signs of damage to the engine compartment, any obvious signs of oil leaks, fuel filter, pre-fuel filter, going to fuel filters. You have a shut-off for fuel inside the engine compartment, our air filter, clogging indicator, and then last but not least in the engine compartment we have our coolant level check and our coolant level fill. From here we'll close our engine compartment. Now at the left rear mid-level of the machine, in this compartment we have located our washer fluid bottles for the front and rear windows of the machine. We also have circuit breakers for the electrical system. Inside this cabinet we want to look for any obvious possible electrical burns to the wiring. Make sure there's no melting of the wiring, any kind of damage. Also, while we're here, you're at your ROP system. Make sure that your bolts are tightened down, that your ROP system is intact. There's no obvious major damage to your ROP system. Moving back towards the machine, back towards the cab of the machine, before entering, the last thing you want to do is you want to open your battery box. Inspect inside your battery box. Make sure there's no loose connections. Make sure there's no corrosion on your connectors for your batteries. From here, we're going to enter into the cab of the machine, and we're going to do the last step of a pre-shift walk-around inspection, which is on the monitor of the machine. Now I'm going to enter the cab of the D375A-6. You know, when I climb up onto this platform, I can look through the glass of the door and make sure that the safety lock levers are in their down position. If they're ever found up, that means you don't enter the cab. Find out what's wrong with the machine. The technicians might be working on it, or an operator possibly just left them up. But find out if there's a problem with the machine. I notice that they're both in the down position, so I'm going to enter the cab. Safe to do so. When I enter the cab, the previous operator might not be the same size as I am, so I can make seat adjustments. I want to ensure that I put my seat belt on. It's a federal regulation that you wear your seat belt. At this time, to adjust your seat, the Komatsu Air Ride seat has to be adjusted with the key in the on position. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to blast my horn once that I'm going to be starting the machine. So now that it's in the on position, I can sound the horn that I'm going to start the machine. I can also start to make the adjustments to my seat. All the controls in the cab are adjustable to each individual operator. I'm going to check the monitor because it's doing a self-diagnostics to find any problems internally that I wasn't able to locate or visually see when I did my pre-shift inspection and opened all the engine compartments and the oil level check compartments. I'm looking at my screen. I noticed there are no problems, so at this time it's safe to start the machine and go to work.